Welcome to the Interzone, a roadmap pit stop February 2025. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager at Microsoft, here to help set the ongoing record straight. This month, I talked with Matt Taylor, Director in the Microsoft 365 Marketing Org, who is focused on SharePoint agents. You're going to hear from Matt talking about getting started, including his own journey as a recent implant into the world of this wonderful world of SharePoint from the Teams team where he focused on Teams rooms. Beyond the breadth of agents, the scenarios, the guidance, we're going to focus on everything that landed this month, a few related items, and the always fun teasers looking into next month, plus a little bit of recent technology retirement announcements that, from a good change management perspective, we want to make sure that you are aware of. This podcast is your 30-minute pit stop to stay ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. It's now time to kick back, ears and brain wide open, to get informed about all the tech that rolled out in February 2025. Before we get to our first item, I did want to take a moment to highlight an event that is very close and in fact just kicked off. It's very close to my SharePoint home of hearts. It is the SharePoint Hackathon. We are excited to invite you to a hackathon that is dedicated to crafting exceptional employee experiences using AI and the latest SharePoint sites and pages features. Join us, please, with the rest of the community for a 2-week-long event with live streams and community engagement on highlighting the art of the possible of what you can do with SharePoint. This hackathon runs from March 3rd to the 17th. We have full details at this page, aka.ms/SharePoint/hackathon. A big notion for this event is the SharePoint Hackathon is open to everyone. This is not just a hackathon for developers. Whether you're a business user, a designer, an architect, or a pro developer, there is a place for you. We want all skill sets to lean in hacking SharePoint because there's a lot that you can do with clicks and code. The SharePoint Hackathon will highlight the diverse possibilities within the SharePoint ecosystem. We have a number of categories of which you can submit your creations, your hacks. There are also some great prize opportunities. They're in that space that I mentioned so that you can learn about the hackathon on the microsite that we put together. And there's a whole lot of learning and sharing. Even if you don't hack, you're going to hack into your brain what it is that you can do with SharePoint these days, from a couple of clicks into creating an agent, to creating a beautiful page, a site, a portal, or coding some new features into your SharePoint environment with the SharePoint framework. Now, as we know, sharing is caring, and a big part of the hackathon is sharing what it is that you create, and we care to review it, and we hope that you submit, potentially win a prize. I'll call out that we have a new blog from my peer, Vesa Juvonen, and it's got all the new details, including some of the prizes. We'll, of course, have a kickoff on March 3rd, where we're going to highlight everything that the hackathon is about, including examples, and pulling in some of our leaders who work in this space to create those wonderful SharePoint features that you know and love. I'll have all of this in the blog. And of course, if you go to that site, aka.ms/SharePoint/hackathon, you'll learn all about it. All right, let's get into our first item of this roadmap pit stop. That is the place that we started, which is employee engagement. And one of the big places that employees engage is Microsoft Viva Connections. And they have just released a really cool feature that's intended for everyone, everybody who uses Viva Connection, not just your IT folks that set up Viva Connections for you, but for all users. There's a new user-created card that is soon going to be available to you, if not already. This is a card that you can create where you put your own links, things that you want to connect and highlight within your dashboard view, creating basically a way to get to different tools and destinations that are hyper-personal to you, where you don't want to wait for somebody to create a dashboard card for you. Just create it for yourself, and you'll see it in your dashboard. The steps are pretty easy. On the Viva Connections dashboard, select Customize, add a Quick Links card, set up the card by choosing a title, an image, appropriate link for where it links off to, and then save the dashboard. It's really that simple. Add a new card for something that you in a recurring fashion care about and want on your dashboard. Viva Connections, new user created cards. I think you're going to like them. Now, your video post-production skills and output are going to get a big boost with this next feature. So watch out, Catherine Bigelow and Steven Spielberg. Your corporate comm skills are ready to launch into the AI era with the help from a friendly editor assistant, a video editor assistant. That is video creation in Copilot using the visual creator powered by Clipchamp. Clipchamp brings video creation skills to the visual creator in Copilot. Simply type your prompt and Clipchamp will generate a bespoke script, source high-quality stock footage, and assemble a video project complete with music, voiceover, text overlays, and transition. This provides you essentially a great first draft, which you then can open in Clipchamp and continue editing and make your own and, of course, finalize. You can then export the video as an MP4 video file, which gets saved to OneDrive, ready to share as a link, essentially ready to share your video creation. Think of all that you can create, things like informational videos, video messages, how-to guides, demos, and video presentations that you really think will drive home visually what it is that you're communicating more than expecting somebody to read a 4 or 5 page white paper. Note, the video creation skill does not generate new video clips or animations or images. Also, it does not create new audio. We use content in existing Microsoft 3 service in asset libraries like the enterprise compliant stock media to bring your video to life, and then, of course, you bring it home. It is your video editor assistant. There's a really great blog, and of course, there's a new Clipchamp adoption page, so you can see all the things that you can do to get started with this feature and all the other things that Clipchamp offers. Okay, before we move into teamwork, I have a great chat segment with my peer, Matt Taylor from the SharePoint team. He's focusing on SharePoint agents, looking across the broader Copilot initiative and ensuring clarity on what they are and how they can benefit you in your daily work. So from video editor assistants to scoped research assistants, here's my conversation with Matt Taylor on SharePoint agents. Now is my favorite time when we take a moment to actually talk with somebody who's been focused on the technology that you and I love. This is the time when we get to know something at a little bit of a deeper level so that we can understand either the approach that somebody takes when they start to build and design, or just ways that make it a clarity in terms of functionality and how to use the technology. So I'm really pleased to have Matt Taylor, who is on our product marketing side as a director, to talk a little bit more about SharePoint agents and some of the things that are left to right of that to make it so that it's really easy to use and, of course, for you to understand what to do with them. So, Matt, thank you for joining the Intrazone.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Excited to be here.
So we both are staring outside and it's a beautiful sunny day, tail end of February, but it's a great time to grab time with you to understand a little bit more about the world of SharePoint agents. I think before we get there, just to ground our audience in who you are, maybe just a little history of Matt, of where you were and where you are now.
Of course. Thank you, Mark. To your point on it being a beautiful day outside, I'm glad we were able to fit this in before getting a little bit of sun here in February before spring officially starts. So I'm Matt Taylor. I recently joined the SharePoint product marketing team about 3 weeks ago. That said, I'm not too naive or too new to Microsoft itself. So I've been around Microsoft for about 11 years. And before taking this role, focusing on SharePoint agents, I spent the last 3 years leading product marketing for Teams rooms and devices. So seeing that through the pandemic and the return to the office wave. And I'm excited to now dive into the world of agents, as that is the current hot topic, it seems, not only at Microsoft, but across a lot of the large tech industry.
Yeah, I've always loved what the Teams team has done from a room perspective, especially when on campus and getting to take advantage of big or small rooms. You just plug in and you have a great conference experience. So welcome to the SharePoint team, and to everybody listening, let's welcome Matt to the SharePoint world. You've entered in a really great time. There's always a great time with SharePoint. It's been around for a while, and I think you'll find it's a good, comfortable home. And in the world of Copilot and Copilots, and of course now agents, that's really a great forefront place to land. So welcome to SharePoint. Welcome to the Intrazone. Now, if we can land a little bit into the news of the day, certainly SharePoint agents are not technically new this month, but they're pretty fresh and new from a general availability. But let's first make sure that people understand in the world of Copilot agents, as it grows left to right, skill sets, different types of agents everywhere. What are we seeing so far in the context for SharePoint agents?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and almost taking a step back and looking at the world of agents from Microsoft in general. We as Microsoft have always believed, and I'm excited that we're following kind of that same path with SharePoint agents to really meet our customers and our users where they're at. And so agents come in all various shapes, forms, and sizes, especially a lot of the announcements that we made at Ignite in November of last year. And so one of the benefits of SharePoint agents is we are able to really harness a lot of that large language model work and effort from Copilot, but then scope it down and ground it in a very simple, easy, customizable manner for our users to kind of take all that amazing productivity and all those gains, but then make it very specific to the use cases that they need help with. And that is part of the out-of-the-box agent announcements that came out of Ignite. And so when we look at the world of agents, to go back to that higher level, there are out-of-the-box agents as part of Microsoft 365, whether that be SharePoint agents or the facilitator or interpreter agents that are built into Teams itself. And then there are agents that are able to be fully customizable and built from the ground up through Copilot Studio as well as Agent Builder. And so we're really looking to have a large offering of tool sets for makers, for developers, for end users, to that notion of being able to meet our audience where they're at and have the various different degrees of customization and ease of use to create the agent that is able to ultimately be as beneficial and helpful to them as possible.
Yeah, the spectrum of agent opportunity certainly spans multiple products, multiple skill sets. And I do like that the SharePoint agent falls within the skill set that almost is available to anyone. If you are comfortable in SharePoint and comfortable from a clicking perspective, not necessarily writing code perspective, that there's a lot that you can do. And of course, there's a great grow-up story. But I thought what would be helpful at this point in time, and I actually think you're the perfect person because being 3 weeks into a new team, meaning you're starting to wrap your head and your arms around what is this, not only to how to talk about it, how to use it, probably get the functionality so that people can learn through your materials over time. You probably already have an agent or two that you've created to help you answer SharePoint questions. I want to jump into the how people can use SharePoint agents, and not just the getting started, but the way to get all the way through so that people really understand the how to publish, but the value that they get once their agent is out there working on their behalf. I'd love to get your early thoughts on where you're at with understanding that, and maybe even some things that you're starting to tell people a little bit more at scale to help them along.
Happy to share. I think the notion around making SharePoint agents and meeting our users where they're at as making the agent as simple as possible to build, to publish, to share is critical. And so that's one of the major benefits of SharePoint agents, because they are able to be created within SharePoint with less than a minute and a few clicks. There's no code required, which ultimately makes it the fact that they are created within SharePoint ultimately makes it so that the agent inherits all the permissions, just like any other SharePoint text file. And so the agent file will be saved within the SharePoint library there, and it's able to be shared in a very simple manner, just like any other file that you would share within Teams for a group chat. And you don't have to worry about oversharing information and from the admin side about governance or security, because it's inheriting everything from that SharePoint site itself. And so that frictionless ability for end users to create them is one of the major unlocks and where the magic happens with SharePoint agents, in my experience. And I've seen it in the past few weeks coming over to this team. One of the first things that I did when I came over here is I was added to the SharePoint site for our team, where we have all of our internal projects, working documents, etc. And so to help me onboard I went in and selected the folders where it made sense and clicked create the agent just for myself. And that agent, then I have been querying it and asking questions, because while everyone is incredibly friendly and welcoming, the world is moving quickly, and I don't want to always be randomizing all of my team members with some of the questions that either A, I know they've answered for me already, but then B, I'm slightly too embarrassed to potentially ask folks. And so that agent has been my personal onboarding buddy based off of our internal team SharePoint site. It's not a new SharePoint site that was built, but it's just where we store all of our internal documents. And it's been a lifesaver. And it's that ability to quickly and easily create an agent to tap into the large swaths of knowledge stored within SharePoint as part of the normal workflows, and just be able to really get in there and make it incredibly easy and accessible to me. It's been impressive and quite astonishing on how quickly it's been helpful.
The onboarding scenario is priceless. I think of it in kind of the context of maybe where you just came from. The very light onboarding of just having missed a Teams meeting and being able to both see the recap, or even during the meeting, be able to get a quick summary, like what did they talk about in the 30 minutes that I wasn't able to join? I'm now here, and I just don't even have time to query a bunch of people like, what did I miss? But for you to be able to join a team that clearly has a lot of documents, a lot of things that are maybe released and some things that are in planning or whatever it might be, and for you to leverage a SharePoint agent to onboard, to basically ask the questions that you want to ask, especially when you have a lot of questions. I think within the first 6 months of any new job, you're going to have a lot of questions, and you certainly want to find a good onboarding buddy, a mentor, all those good things. But at some point, you want to be self-servicing, especially when it's a critical question or just something that you're curious about. I'm imagining that whomever created that, or as you create it, that is going to save a bunch of time for a lot of people, including yourself, in terms of maybe even sometimes finding the right person to ask the question.
Absolutely. And I mean, that notion of being able to tap into the ongoing knowledge sources that we keep up to date in our everyday workflows has also proved to be incredibly helpful and valuable. As we march to marketing moments, etc., we've created SharePoint agents and made them available to our executives so that they are able to self-serve and just be able to quickly get answers to specific questions without needing to send emails and wait for a response, etc. And so we're seeing it at multiple different layers of the organization too, being able to tap into that knowledge.
That's great. Well, I'm curious, just again, from I won't call you a newbie because you've been around for a while, but maybe, new to SharePoint. And it gives a lens of, people discovering how to leverage and use a new technology. Comes also something that you might have learned that other people don't, or have stumbled across and just wanted to make sure that people knew about it. Is there anything that from your onboarding scenario or other use cases, or just even your fiddling around with it to see how it works best, that you would share as a tip or something that people should not miss out on taking advantage of when they're working with SharePoint agents?
Probably the best advice that I would have at this point is just start creating agents within SharePoint agents, and playing around with them and seeing what is working the best for you and what maybe isn't giving you what you want, and you want to then kind of start over and try it again. It's so easy to go in and create one and scope it and ground it on the information and the knowledge sources that you are looking for, that you don't really lose anything by a few iterations of trial and error if it's not giving you what you want. I think being realistic on the questions that you're asking to, I mean, SharePoint Agent isn't going to build an entire PowerPoint deck based off of a Word document. It's more around tapping into those knowledge sources. So a few of the kind of the rules I've kept in my head, or some of the best practices, if you will, that I've kept in my head is, are there large knowledge sources that I'm looking to, or a wide swath of knowledge that I'm looking to tap into and receive quick responses from? I have found some of those scenarios are ultimately the best. So large data or knowledge sets, but then also, are there repetitive tasks or repetitive questions that are being asked, either of questions being asked of me, or are there questions that I am ultimately asking of multiple other people that I can look to swap out one of the people with the SharePoint agent itself. And so the example of marching to a marketing moment or marching to Ignite, having an agent that ultimately is that expert on everything that we're talking about really gives you that sense of comfort, that emotional pull, if you will, that you have an expert that you can tap into at any point of the day that is able to help answer any type of question that you may need. It really gives you that safety net, or that level of comfort that I haven't really experienced with too many other technologies to date.
Okay, so SharePoint agents giving you comfort. That's great to hear. And I'll agree with you. I have a pretty simple agent that I created for the InterZone that gives me time back, because some people can self-serve if they're interested in what the show is about, or who to contact, or did we have X or Y person on the show. It's very easy. I tailored it, just like you said, with specific questions that are like a starter kit for, what people see that they can click on and then fill in a little bit of detail. And I've started to see a little bit. We are just in the midst, around the corner, of our SharePoint Hackathon. And one of the categories is working with SharePoint agents in the context of SharePoint sites and portals. And the little tip that I've seen two people in the community do, sort of as a preview to what they were thinking, because they reached out and asked a couple of clarifying questions, was just using a simple button to then have a deep link that opens up the agent in the context of wherever you're presenting the material, on the site or deep within a page, wherever the context of the action happens. The then next action is click a button that then opens up the agent experience. So thank you for both awareness of where you're at with agents, and certainly where the team is at as we march forward to the next evolution of agents. I wondered if you just had a last thought. If somebody goes to their site, they just either recently got a Microsoft 365 Copilot license assigned to them, or they're part of the promo that we're running through June around the pay-as-you-go and some of the metering. They see that they have this ability, either the agent showed up or they have the ability to create one because they have the right to do so within the specific site. What is your, first or last thought to them coming from your mindset, or something that you would encourage them to do?
Give it a try. I think it's as simple as that. Give it a try. Create an agent, use the default built-in agent, and start to ask them specific questions. It's really being grounded on that specific information. It has a lot of throwbacks to some of the first time that I played with Copilot, initially being grounded on the broader Microsoft Graph data, or even with ChatGPT before that, and being astounded by the ability to tap into some of that information. And then one of the things that you also said, Mark, the deep link and the ability to then start to make the agent accessible from there. Coming from teams, so much of my day is spent within Teams chats, group chats, and the ability to then share the agent directly into a group chat and make that as easy and accessible, all of that information to the entire group is also one of the areas that has been incredibly beneficial to me, because I don't have to leave my flow of work to then start to tap in and interact with the agent and unlock that information.
I think that's great. I mean, having the muscle to be able to maybe meet somebody for the first time if you're getting integrated with a new group or a new project, and you're the one that, is bringing some set of information. And at the end of the meeting to say, hey, if you have any questions, I'm going to drop a link to our agent. For me, it would be the InterZone agent. If you want to ask any more questions, I'll just put it here in the chat, and hopefully the agent will be able to answer and address anything that we didn't get to, or when you think of a further question in the future. So I love the work that the team has done to bring essentially that grounded content to a Teams chat so that you don't have to leave the chat within the context of being able to share essentially, a lot of more knowledge that you have. You can't cram everything into a 15 or a 30-minute meeting. And to the point of like your onboarding scenario, it's always there for them where you last left off, so they don't have to go hunting around for your site. It's right there. So thank you for your time. Again, want to welcome you to the SharePoint community. It's much broader in terms of what you're focused on. So you're going to get tapped into the Copilot community. You're already a part of the Teams community, the SharePoint community, the actual people that you will meet in the future. I think you will love it. And of course, it's really deeply integrated across a lot of different experiences, both Microsoft and third parties. So your future, it clearly has a lot of busy getting up to speed meetings. I'm excited for you, but I also just wanted to make sure to thank you for your time today and the work that you're going to do to make sure that people are grounded on what SharePoint agents are and what it can do for them.
Well, thank you for the warm welcome to the community, and thank you for having me on the InterZone today, Mark. It was a great discussion, and I look forward to hopefully being on a little bit later down the road.
I hope you agree with me. It is great to meet Matt, know that he's on the SharePoint team doing all the good things to make sure that we understand SharePoint and, of course, what's coming next. And to do all of that within his first 3 weeks, please, again, a warm welcome to Matt to the SharePoint community. Now, a quick connected reminder about our recent episode that we just published a few weeks ago, SharePoint Agents in the Wild, where we talked with another peer, Matt Wolodarski, and our legal department, our legal team here at Microsoft, about specific use cases with SharePoint agents. One of the assets we teased that was coming from within that episode was a new Inside Track article with 2 new demo videos that the Microsoft legal team put together so you could see not only what they did with agents, but what they look like. I am here to say that it is now published. It is titled Boosting Efficiency with SharePoint Agents, How Our Microsoft Legal Team is Helping Clients Find Answers Faster. It's by Brent Sanders, a familiar voice to you if you heard that episode or when you listened to that episode. The article and videos give you more insight and visuals to complement what we talked about. It's very worth your time, in my opinion, especially if you want to see and look over the shoulder of how others implemented their SharePoint agent. I'll link to it in the show notes and, of course, have updated that resource on the previous episode's blog post. Now, this gets us into teamwork. The first item for teamwork is a pretty big one, especially if you love Microsoft lists. This is effectively V2 of what we've been doing with forms. This is the forms update. I hope you know Microsoft list forms are being updated to enhance your list data collection and the management of those forms. These updates include subscribing to notifications, form scheduling, conditional branching, quick form creation, effectively a new way to start, and additional field type support. In the new creation experience, you can create forms directly from Lists Home within SharePoint and the Lists app in Microsoft Teams. It's now a streamlined process that automatically creates the underlying list for responses, saving time and effort. Again, you can start with the form and the list will get created behind the scenes. Conditional branching was a big ask from a feedback perspective. You can now built-in conditional branching, which allows you to show or hide questions based on previous answers as people fill out your form, ensuring respondents only see relevant questions. You can see branch questions to other questions or based on choices in a choice field. You can also now add a logo to enhance your form with a relevant or beautiful logo, making them look a little bit more professional and reinforcing your brand identity, especially if it's your personal brand. Put your face in there. That'd be a fun way for somebody to get your form, is to have you staring at them while you fill out the form. So don't make it a menacing face. The next thing, support for additional field types, attachments, images, location, lookup fields. Note about the lookup fields is respondents need to at least read access to the underlying source list to see and select the options for where it comes from that additional list. While you're looking up, you need to, of course, have the right permissions. You can also get notified of new responses and schedule from start and end dates so that you can choose to be notified when someone submits a response to a form that you own or have access to, and set a specific start and end date so that your form is not always open. It is open when you want it to be open for submitting of new list items. A lot of great details in a new blog with a video that is really nice to see exactly how forms are evolving, especially if you're looking to take advantage of a great way to collect information from within your intranet. Next up, SharePoint. We've updated the document libraries experience, and especially when you're in edit mode. Thanks to, again, what we just talked about, many of those Microsoft List user experience improvements at the platform level, so too now DocLibs benefit, since they are platformed on that same lists infrastructure. Both are within SharePoint, both get the benefits of being within SharePoint. This SharePoint document library update improves overall performance as well, and enhances that functionality when you're in the Edit in Grid view. So the enhanced Edit in Grid view, when you're looking at choice fields, person fields, and image fields, it just gets a little bit better and faster when you're working with them. You'll see better scrolling with large libraries. Instead of going to the next page, if there are more than 100 documents, users and you can now just scroll down and see everything. You'll find new commands and navigation in Grid View without having to get out of Grid View. With these improvements, Grid View includes several new commands and navigational options that previously were either missing or a little bit less intuitive, like create new items in Grid View, clickable document titles. You'll get it once you get there. You'll see all the things that you hoped that you could do, now you can in Edit View. There's also a redesigned Properties pane and a right-click menu. When you click or modify an item's details, the Properties pane appears as a dialog box, including the right-click context menu. Right-click on any item in the grid and instantly see the context-aware options such as Open, Edit, Share, or Delete. And if your document library includes a rating column, the star ratings that you see to the right, where you can click on any number of stars that you want to rate a document, we've improved this experience of updating and viewing these ratings, meaning you'll see it immediately, and of course they're really nice and visible in the different modes, edit or view. It's a lot that's coming to the SharePoint document library experience, and again, it's always the goal to have it be a consistent experience, whether you're in OneDrive, in SharePoint, viewing libraries and files within Teams, or even coming to the desktop view in Windows Explorer and Mac Finder. You will find that consistency, our goal of making it learn once, use it anywhere. Next up, Microsoft Teams combined with Microsoft List. You're going to see a improved Microsoft List links when in Teams chats and channels. The lists or lists items and even those list forms will display richer details such as title and path when shared in a Teams chat and channels experience. This new feature will enhance collaboration by making it easier for users to recognize specific link types in addition to viewing the title and path, which means when you see a list or a list item or a list form that's linked in a Teams chat, it just looks nice and it's a little bit more clear of what it is versus this longer garbled URL. So with this update, new details will display in a Teams chat. For list links, a list icon and a name and a path will be displayed. For list item links, a list icon, the title of the specific list item, and the path of the list will be displayed. For list forms, the list form icon, the title of the form, and directions for a user to fill out the form will be displayed. A sender will be able to opt to provide permissions to view or edit just like sharing any other item, and that includes the access to the list item, or the list form. This feature will hopefully improve the efficiency of collaboration by reducing the need to switch between teams and other applications to view or interact with list data. This is going to be a big win, especially when you're collecting information at a really discrete level. Those forms and list items are a big part of this deliverable, where within a chat you can really increase what it is that you share and how you provide access for people to submit to something that is not just the full list. Next up, there's a new preview mode for SharePoint pages and news posts. This new preview mode can be used to understand how pages and news posts will appear on different device types when viewed by an audience, your viewer, your audience. A preview button will display in the command bar while users are editing pages and news posts in SharePoint. After you click preview, you'll see what the page will look like in view mode for the audience. When previewing pages, you can navigate between desktop and mobile device types. When previewing news posts, you can see and choose to view the email version as desktop or email device types. Get an idea of what your communication looks like for your end audience, so that you know exactly the experience that you want to design and deliver to them. The next item is Microsoft Loop is delivering a new personal Loop workspace. This provides you a personal workspace, which is shared with Copilot Pages. This personal workspace is a user-owned SharePoint embedded container, and there is one per user. Governance, lifecycle management, and compliance processes are similar to that if you are working with OneDrive. The existing Ideas workspace will begin functioning as a shared Loop workspace because it is not a user-owned container. There are details about departure and storage which can be found so that you can learn more about how to configure and manage these new workspaces. And if you wish to disable the creation of Loop workspaces, you can do this with an admin policy, and I will point you to how you get that done so you at least can review how you manage the creation of these new workspaces. But bear in mind, this is a great new space for people to be able to create what they need, and again, with the manageability that IT would expect. And if you're managing OneDrive already, you know exactly how you can manage these because they're managed with SharePoint in the background as the storage platform. Before we move into related tech, I did want to share a reminder that all of the January 29th, 2025 SharePoint event content is now on demand. We have a really simple new microsite behind this AKA link to get there. Just go to aka.ms/SharePoint event, and it's all in one place. This microsite brings the full event and AMA so you can watch or review, and of course, we hope share with others you think that will benefit from it. Plus, there's a new 5-part SharePoint learning series, 3 new customer case studies with Ami, Takeda, and Avanade. And there's more. We point to a lot more resources that are relevant so that as you're learning and getting up to speed with SharePoint, especially from the end of January's big event, that there is, of course, a wonderful resource for you. Again, another worthy World Wide Web pit stop of a location to learn about SharePoint and get up to speed. aka.ms/SharePoint event. We have arrived at related technology, and with this month, our related tech items help inform you about 3 recent retirement disclosures. First, SharePoint Spaces will be retired. In its original design, SharePoint Spaces introduced immersive, mixed reality experiences for your intranet to view and interact with content from every angle and visualize and manipulate data and product models in real time. It was a really nice offering within SharePoint. It offered a point-and-click simplicity to create engaging surroundings with ambient sounds, rich text, and lighting, plus your content. However, due to limited usage and the focus that we now collectively at Microsoft have on Microsoft Mesh investments, Microsoft will retire the Spaces feature from SharePoint starting March 10th, 2025 and ending August 11th, 2025. As another alternative, you may choose to transition some existing content to SharePoint pages. Effectively, a SharePoint space was a SharePoint page of a specific three-dimensional type. And in their own right, evolving with SharePoint pages is this ability to create engaging and beautiful ways to display your content, even still in a 2D way with flexible sections, all the new features that we've talked about a number of times, especially from our new SharePoint event. You can see what pages can do for you. So starting March 10th, the Spaces feature will be turned off by default. After this date, you can still access the Spaces feature on SharePoint sites that have used it previously, and anybody else can enable the feature for individual sites on the Site's Features page. Starting May 15th, 2025, you'll no longer be able to enable the Spaces feature on the Site Features page, but SharePoint sites will feature already enabled will continue to function as normal. Starting August 11th, 2025, the feature will be fully disabled and users will be unable to view, edit, or create new spaces. So I hope that informs you of what's happening with SharePoint Spaces. Our second related tech item, the next chapter, moving from Skype to Microsoft Teams. In order to streamline our free consumer communications offering to adapt to customer needs, we will be retiring Skype in May 2025 to focus on Microsoft Teams, the free version. With Teams, you have access to many of the same core features that Skype offered, such as one-to-one calling and group calls, messaging, and file sharing. Additionally, Teams offers enhanced features like hosting meetings, managing calendars, and building and joining communities for free. I pulled 3 suggested steps from the announcement, aka what's next for Skype users. If that is you, the first suggested step, of course, is to move to Microsoft Teams for free. We will roll out the ability for Skype users to sign into Teams, the free version, on any supported device using their Skype credentials. By logging into Teams with your Skype account, chats and contacts will automatically appear in the app so you can quickly pick up right where you left off. Step number 2, export your Skype data. If you prefer not to migrate to Teams, you can instead export your data, including chats, contacts, and call history. Skype will remain available until May 5th, 2025 to accomplish this export. And the last step to consider, get started with Teams for free. Moving to Teams is simple and doesn't prevent you from also continuing to use Skype during the transition period. Download Teams on your device from the official Microsoft Teams website, log in with your Skype credentials, start using Teams with all your Skype chats and contacts ready to go. Historically, Skype has been an integral part of shaping modern communications and supporting countless meaningful moments, and Microsoft is honored to be a part of this journey. We also understand that change can be challenging and want you to know that we're here to support your every step of the way. We're excited about the new opportunities that Teams brings and are committed to helping you stay connected in new and meaningful ways. I'll link out to our broader notification that was published by Jeff Teeper, where you can learn a little bit more of the details and watch a video that will step you through some of the steps that I mentioned. Now, to wrap up our related/retirement section, as it turns out this month, a note that came to me as an email as a paid Microsoft 365 subscriber on the consumer side of the house is Microsoft Publisher will no longer be supported after October 2026. So there's a little bit of a longer heads up. Beginning January 10th, 2026, Microsoft Publisher will no longer be supported as a part of Microsoft 365. There are many common publisher scenarios now available in other Microsoft 365 apps, including Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Microsoft Designer. Before January 10th, 2026, Microsoft suggests to convert your existing publisher files to PDFs or Word format. After this date, you will no longer be able to open or edit these files with Microsoft Publisher. Again, there's a great learn more about these plans, so I'll have a link in the show notes and in the blog so you can read more, especially if you've got some lingering Microsoft Publisher files. There's a really nice, easy way that you can convert them and have them be durable beyond the lifespan of Microsoft Publisher. in January of 2026. All right, now that the retirement plans hopefully are a little bit more front and center so you have the awareness of them, let's move into the March 2025 teasers. This is the near future, as it often is, as one yours truly predicts through the help of much information that is out there and available. Let us focus on the future that's just around the corner of our calendars. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in March 2025. Teaser number 1, new usage reports through the Microsoft PowerShell for SharePoint agents during the trial period. This one actually came up during our February 2025 Microsoft 365 Champion call as part of the Q&A. And to be able to report better on SharePoint agents, I'm glad that we're starting to message out that we have this capability coming to do reporting leveraging PowerShell. So take this one up, give it a try, and get a sense of what's going on with the usage of your SharePoint agents, especially during the trial period. Teaser number 2, transcript-based editing in Clipchamp. Choose the text you don't want and remove it. It disappears from your video based on edit choices in the transcript words. Pretty magical when you do this for the first time, and I can't wait to share more details next month, including a lot of other details about a lot of other features that will ship in March 2025 with the SharePoint Roadmap Pitstop March 2025 edition next month. Before we wrap up, I want to tell you about the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. This takes place May 6th through the 8th, 2025 in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Hotel. This conference is produced by Next Gen 365 Events, aka the event team, and sponsored by Microsoft and partners. It has over 200 sessions with Microsoft executives and product experts leading more than 100 of those sessions across keynotes from Jeff Teeper, Jared Spataro, and Vasu Jakal, plus great breakout sessions, theater presentations, roundtables, AMAs, workshops, and the always engaging Community Lounge up on the 3rd floor. The Microsoft 365 Community Conference will provide the ultimate in-depth experience for customers and partners who want to learn, grow, and succeed in the era of AI with Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft 365 apps like Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Viva, Planner, Loop, and more. As a bonus, breaking Microsoft 365 conference news, the official Microsoft event guide is now published and alive on the Microsoft 365 blog. Within the Microsoft tech community, my peer Heather Cook wrangled all the details about Microsoft keynotes, sessions, speakers, initial details about the Community Lounge, and a multitude of visuals showcasing what to expect, including a nice invitation video from Jeff Teeper, President of Collaborative Apps and Platforms at Microsoft, aka, as I know him, Captain SharePoint, per my biased salutation. There's a lot of great details that Heather baked in, so I will link to the event guide. And know that you can use a discount code SAVE150 to save $150 off your conference ticket. So register today, aka.ms/M365con25, and I will see you in Las Vegas. And just because it's cool, I just want to leave a little information that you should just go read a little bit more about the Majorana 1. There's a great video explaining this path to 1 million qubits. You'll hear from Microsoft team that's behind the recent breakthrough in physics and quantum computing demonstrated by the new Majorana 1 chip, engineered from an entirely new material that has the potential to scale to millions of qubits on a single chip. And I will tell you, I know nothing more than except what I watched in the video, and I will let the video do the talking. It's just one of those things that at a point in time when there's technology that is really truly wow, it's not just an upgrade or a next feature, but it really paves the path to, we will see what will qubits, millions of them, bring to our computational futures. Anyway, it's a great video. I'll have it in the blog, but I really encourage, if you're interested in what's going on with quantum computing, this is the version of what is Microsoft doing on the forefront of that journey, that pioneering aspect. It's really cool. It's a little mind-blowing. All right, we have added learn more links per feature, plus a list of important resources in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech Community, published to the SharePoint Community blog. I hope you've enjoyed this roadmap pit stop. It's time to pump the brakes and relax knowing that you are all caught up. If anything still leaves you scratching your head, any open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to theinterzone@microsoft.com. We're here to put our and your best change management foot forward. Thank you for taking that step with us into the cloud month after month. This is Mark Cashman saying, get your agents, lists, loops, and pages in order on the roadmap ahead.